Alright, so in this video we'll be talking about the parking functionality within myCNC and how you can add a parking widget onto the main screen for the profiles that don't have it displayed by default. If you do have the widget displayed by default, it'll typically have a little button right here which just says the letter P. If you do have that button and it brings up the widget, then you can simply skip ahead to the next part where we discuss the functionality of the parking widget itself. But first of all, let's discuss how we can add this widget for profiles which don't have it on by default, such as this plasma cutting profile or perhaps the gas cutting profile, X1366G. Alright, so here I don't have this widget within my profile, and I'd like to add it within this top ribbon, within this empty space right here. To do that, I can navigate into my home folder within my file explorer, go into my home folder, .config, myCNC, profiles, and then navigate to the folder of your current profile. If you're unsure of what your profile is, you can simply go into your settings within myCNC, go into info, and your current profile will be displayed right here. Next, once we're in our profile folder, we'll go over to the cncscreen.xml file, which every profile has. And within it, we have a number of elements which describe some buttons on the main screen, along with a number of include files, which are also available within this folder. So first of all, let's add some sort of a button on the main screen in this little opening right here, which will allow us to bring up the widget. It will allow us to toggle it. To do that, we'll use this code right here, which we'll add right here. And all the code says is it will add a button to the main screen. So where XP is the main section of your screen. At position, so in my case I'd like to add it right after this homing button, and I know that the homing button is located at 800 right here, so position 800. So we'd like to add this at 8880 because the button is 80 by 80 pixels. Next we have an image, which is just the letter P. It's taken from our different profile, and this comes bundled in with myCNC software, so you don't have to download an image for this button. You can add some tooltip, which will be available to you if you hover over the button. And then we have the main part, which is the action. So what happens when you click the button. And the action for this is it toggles a widget called parking. And of course it's a button. So if you've noticed, we don't actually have a widget called parking yet. We haven't created that. However, we did create a button, so let's just save this file and reload the software by pressing Ctrl X to see if it appears, just to confirm that we are doing everything correctly. Once the software reloads, we can see that we actually do have the parking button. However, if we do try to click it, we can see that nothing happens because, again, we don't have a widget assigned to this button, so nothing actually comes up on the screen. So next we'd like to add some sort of a widget, or a myItems element as they're called. So let's add this code, which says where XP, so main screen, some position on the screen. We can edit this a little later. However, for now it will be just at 80 and 160. Give your widget some sort of width and height, so it'll be some sort of a section of the screen that you're comfortable with. So for me, I've already done this, so I know that it'll be around 640, 320. Type my items, so this is this specifies that it's a section of the screen which will populate with other items. And then this will be hidden by default, so when you open the software, the parking widget is closed by default, and if you'd like to open it or toggle it, you press the parking button. This has the name parking and has some background color. So again, this is the name that we're referencing right here for this button. Save this again, and let's go back to the software, reload via Control X, and let's see if anything changes. So here, nothing really comes up on the screen. We can see that we have some sort of empty space, but nothing really comes up on the screen because there's nothing within this widget. It's just an empty blank spot. And we can write all of this code out by hand. We can put some buttons here, we can put some coordinates here for parking, etc., but that's really time consuming, and we already have this widget ready for us in the other profiles, so the milling profile, like I mentioned before, or the tangential cutting profile. So if we go into those profiles, which are once again located in your home folder, config myCNC profiles, let's say we go into X1366M, and we have this xparking file right here. What we can do is we can copy it, go back to our actual profile, so for me that's the X1366P, and simply paste it in. So now we have this file, which we can also open, and it has a number of buttons and on-screen elements which will go inside this widget. However, the issue is that right now all this is an independent file. It's a file in the folder. The program doesn't actually know that we'd like to somehow reference that file or we'd like to open it when we open the software. And that's because all the software does is it looks into the CNC screen.xml file when it first loads, and then it loads these include files within the include statements. So we don't have this in the list for now, so the software will not know to load the buttons in. So all we do for that is we copy this line of code. So for example, right here, and now we included the xparking.xml file, and the myCNC software knows to open it up when you open up the software. Once again, save, go and reload, and once the software has reloaded, what you should see is a widget which now has a number of buttons within it. However, there's one more thing we need to do before this actually functions properly, because as of right now, you may or may not have certain macros within this profile. So if you quickly look at what these do, what this does is it will run M306 and M305. However, the parking macros, the 306 and 305, are not available within the X1366P profile. So we'd like to copy them over. Once again, we'll navigate into X1366M, macros, and then simply locate M305 and M306, copy them, and paste them into the software, or rather into the folder. Now, once that's done, we can simply reload this once again. And at this point we can use the profile to save some sort of a parking coordinate. So if we open this, move to a certain position, let's say around 20 and 18, then we select our parking number, so let's say that will be our parking location number 1, and we press the record button. We confirm that we'd like to save our current machine position as selected parking, and this will save the parking coordinates. Next, let's say we move away to, let's say, 4738. We click the move button, confirm, and the machine will move back to the parking coordinates. You can similarly assign coordinates for parking 3, 4, all the way through to 10, and you can also see them in your settings. If you go into your main menu, settings, configuration, and then you go into parking coordinates right here, you can see that we have a table with the current parking number, current parking position, etc., etc., etc. So this about covers the basics of the parking coordinates. If you'd like to actually move this widget around, because if I, for example, notice that it's not very pleasant to look at because the button is right here and the widget's right here, or if you'd like to move the buttons around, you can resize them. You can simply go back into the CNC screen.xml file and within the xparking.xml file. But as of right now, the widget is up on the screen and you can use it for parking coordinates in myCNC. Thank you for watching. If you have any more questions or need any more information, please visit our docs at docs.pvautomation.com.